here on AM 700 KBYR. What's coming up this hour? Well, this hour we're going to lighten things up a little bit. We did a lot of politics last hour and some gun stuff and everything else. We're gonna touch a bit on politics here before the end of this segment, but we're going to do some great technology stuff. This hour is very tech heavy. Coming in at the bottom of the hour, Dr. Tracey Wilen, who's a prominent thought expert. She's worked for Apple and Cisco and all these different companies, and she basically is an expert when it comes to technology and careers. And she's going to be joining us here at 7:30. She's going to do two segments with us. The first segment is going to be a year in review for technology. You know, what was hot, what came in, all those things. And in the second segment, leading up to the 8 o'clock hour, we are going to be talking with her about technology and careers. There's going to be a lot of stuff to cover. I hope you stick around for that. That'll be fun. What was hot and what flopped and what was great? What did we love and what did we hate in 2015?
Well, and I agree with you. Not only is it getting bigger, but there's more variety, so it's really hard to track all the different avenues. But, I think the top of mind for me that was really hot was streaming video. I mean, I just loved how I could get House of Cards on Netflix. Yeah. I could go over to my Amazon account. So I thought that was pretty hot. But what I thought was not hot was trying to cut the cord, and I'm still in the middle of trying to do that. So instead of having less remotes, I'm up to 5 remotes now.
Oh man, yeah, because you picked up you picked up a Fire Stick from Amazon, so you're still trying to suss that out.
I am, and I picked it up because of traveling, and the whole idea was that I could access my content and bring it on the road with me and plug into any kind of TV setup. Right. But you still have to use all the devices. You still have to sort out the TV because every hotel room is different. And at the end of the day, you still have to buy the content on Amazon, and sometimes it's pretty darn expensive, and you're like, maybe this is not worth it. So I'm still, out to lunch on that one.
Well, I will tell you that streaming to me has really changed the way that our family has consumed entertainment and media and television. I haven't had cable in 7 years, but the streaming, and of course the stuff just gets better, and now Netflix and Hulu and everybody else is developing a lot of their own content, and so we're seeing, this is where the future is. I mean, broadcast television, appointment television is dead. It's all, when do I want to watch it?
Yes. No, I agree with you. So as you said that about your family, I mean, I think part of the key, though, is you need a robust home Wi-Fi and wireless system. I mean, I actually had to move my box upstairs and get a repeater, right, to make sure that I had a robust enough system so that the stuff could actually download without delay. And I'm guessing you have a nice robust system at home. Oh yeah, no, you got a big connection, which again comes back to the whole idea of broadband. I mean, if you do not have at least a 10 meg connection, you've got problems. A lot of us are doing 20 and 30 and 50 meg connections out there, and in some areas are lucky enough to have a gigabit connection. You've got to have that, especially if you've got multiple people utilizing the systems. It's like getting on the airlines when I can never even get an email connection on the airline because everybody's doing it at the same time.
Exactly. Well, it's good stuff, and it's definitely lots of fun. What else is hot or not in 2015?
Well, I thought the whole wearable technology was pretty hot, but it sort of stalled. So I think 2016 is probably going to re-pick up, right? So Google Glass seemed hot out the gate, and it sort of died. The Apple iWatch, which I know you have one, right? But I don't.
Right.
Right. But now Samsung's coming out with one. Fitbit is changing their wrist device into watches. I thought the Twitter dresses sounded cool for celebrities, but they sort of were not. And so I think this whole wearable technology has more to come. You know, and I think where it's going to be is actually in the clothing itself, like smart helmets. Instead of all of the devices hanging off our arms and legs, I think it's going to be woven into the fabric of the clothes. So it's not so, precise that I actually have to get up and put on a bracelet so I can monitor my health and things like that.
Right. Well, it's interesting to see, because what I found interesting was how the Fitbit. I mean, because I have an Android watch that I use with my Android Wear, but I've seen everybody seems to have these little Fitbits, and it has just gone crazy. Everybody obviously wants to know how many steps have they done and what's their heart rate and all this kind of stuff. I think you're right. I think it's going to come from more of a health-conscious perspective, not necessarily from a productivity angle, but more from a health-conscious perspective that people are starting to pick this stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about, like, Digisol, right? So, of course, that caught my eye because they're making sneakers now and insoles that can do all those measurements, so you don't have to put it on your wrist.
Oh, wow.
And, and now some of the sports manufacturers, Nike, Under Armour, are making clothing that when you put it on, it takes all your vitals. And that, to me, is kind of interesting because then you could be in the sport itself wearing your sports clothes and getting real-time feedback closer to the source,
right.
Instead of, I mean, let's face it, my bracelet fell off. My little jawbone bracelet fell off, and I was having a crisis because I didn't know my measurements at that moment, my vitals. So I think there's more to come on that, and I bet 2016 will probably be the year we'll see more on that.
Absolutely. All right, so wearables are hot. What else?
Well, the last time we talked about Twitch and the whole idea of immersive sports and gaming.
Right.
And then I started looking into it more because this is not an area that I'm an expert in by any means. And I read about esports, which is competitive immersive gaming. And I happened to be in Las Vegas at the same time asking at the casinos, what's this thing about esports where you actually have teams competing for big bucks, right? Competitive gaming. Oh, as soon as we can get it passed here for gambling, this is the big next wave. So you'll have all the sports people getting involved, right? You're going to have teams and logos, and you're going to have huge screens where people go and watch two teams competing. You'll probably end up having leagues. You'll have endorsements, So I think that whole area is really going to get hot. And I didn't even realize how hot it was already.
Yeah, and I think that's a generational thing. I mean, folks who are, I'm on the fringe of that I'm 45. I'm on the fringe of that being one of the early adopters. But people who are now in their 20s and 30s, that is part of their life. I mean, that is part of their core, and they love to watch that kind of stuff. And it's got a huge following.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the wave. If you look at Las Vegas today, or you look at the landscape of NFL sports and different venues, and then you look at the millennials and Generation Z, which will be our next generation, they're going to change the entire landscape in the sports and gambling and a lot of these venues. So I think that'll be continuing to get hotter and hotter, and all of in there, not just the tech vendors, but your typical sports people are getting in there as well. Right.
You called the millennials Generation Z, and all I could think of was zombies. That might not be a good label for those kids. I'm just,
No, it's the generation after the millennials.
Oh yeah.
So after Y, we have now our Generation Z.
Yeah.
Who are like in their early teens.
Which, again, that might not be a good label for these kids, unfortunately. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with some of the hot or not, and we'll take a look at what Tracey thinks is going to be big for 2016. Dr. Tracey Wilen is our guest. We're doing the Technology Year in Review. Don't go anywhere. Is our guest. She comes in every couple of weeks to talk about technology with us. We got her for 2 segments today. We really appreciate her sticking around. We're continuing to talk about what was hot in 2015 and what she thinks is going to be hot in 2016. She joins us again for our final segment this hour. So, Doc, we were working on the esports. Now we've got things like intelligent, artificial intelligence type stuff where you're being able to use computers to help cure cancer, analytics, those kind of things, all kinds of stuff moving forward.
Yeah, and I think one of the big, supposed to be hot, was the hoverboard. I think every kid got one for Christmas this year,
right.
And they're so hot that they're exploding. So now airlines are banning them as part of transportation. So I think it's a really hot thing, but I think that's one that might be a potential hot flop if they don't fix that exploding hoverboard.
Right. You may want to just hold off until they get version 2.0 out. I'm just saying, right?
Right. The other thing that I think is very hot is Star Wars. I was really excited to see it revived, that all ages are interested in it. It's over $1 billion already in ticket sales. And what it says to me is that we are reviving interest in technology, robotics, outer space, you name it. And that to me is exciting because families can actually share that experience together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes hand in glove again with kind of that idea of science fiction and looking at realms of ideas. I mean, you were talking about wearable tech earlier where the clothing actually reads what's going on. That's directly out of science fiction. I mean, that's stuff that, Heinlein wrote about. And I mean, all these other things. That's where we're going. And I think just that kind of idea is continuing to be on the cutting edge is what's going to push us forward.
Yeah, so the big question out there, actually I was asked last week, is do I think that the Disney Star Wars theme park will be hot, so they're going to be vamping. And I actually think not only be hot, I think it would be important because then you can get kids hands-on touching technology and technology themes and, as you said, sci-fi topics at a very young age while having fun. And I think that's part of getting kids addicted to technology.
Well, isn't that the whole STEM thing, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, all those? I mean, those are all hand in glove with everything that we're talking about here.
Exactly, and that's why the makers movement that we had talked about, we're bringing into the classroom where we're making electronics in classes is really exciting for kids. A woman just told me yesterday that all her daughter wanted for Christmas were Legos.
Right.
And good Legos, things that actually move things and make things. And so, her mom was really excited because it's happening.
It is an inspiration and it's inspiring creativity, which is what we really, really need out there. Speaking of creativity, sharing is big. Sharing services, Uber, Airbnb, Lyft, all these different things, Dine With Me. That stuff is hot, although it has faced its hurdles.
It has, but it just came on like, wildfire. I had talked about Uber and Lyft on your show actually 2 years ago, and I just said it's inevitable. It's supply, demand, the technology's here, Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, all of these things will take off, and they did. And now it's expanded to all kinds of apps, whether Grubhub or OpenTable or home services like TaskRabbit and parking your car and you name it. So people have really grasped this whole using your mobile smartphone, getting on-demand services. And at the same time, that creates jobs, too. So I think that was a pretty hot trend. That one will continue, and we'll see more and more of that.
I think that the challenge is, what I find interesting is that the technology is moving faster than government regulatory schemes at this point, and that angers some governments, but at the same time, it's really showing that people and the innovation, the demand is there, and they can create it, and if we can continue to work ahead of the pace, we can, just to me, the innovation is going to be worth it.
Oh, yeah. I think that we have to really think about in education and government, how can we facilitate this innovation rather than either not being able to comprehend it or creating obstacles for it to grow. So I'm with you on that one.
Retail shopping, of course, we had one of the biggest Black Mondays ever. Cyber weekends, everything else. It's just been huge. I think the brick and mortar stores are starting to get the picture that the Black Friday thing is not what it's going to be in the future, and that technology is going to allow people to do it from pretty much wherever.
Yeah, and I would say, so I really pushed on-demand delivery to a limit over the holidays because I just wanted to see, was I really going to get deliveries up to the moment or same day?
Right.
And I think it's pretty hot. I would say that Amazon, Google Express, a lot of these on-demand, met their requirements. We had a few blips. But what was not hot was getting a delivery at 10 o'clock at night. So what happened was is they kept pushing out the delivery time. And when you're tired after work, who wants to wait up to 10 o'clock at night because that particular delivery required a signature? I'm telling you, Michael, I was pushing all the limits with this, and I was not happy about that. So I said, no more. I'm all for the drones.
Amazon wants drones. You wanted it. You had to stay. You wanted it. You had to order it, so you got it. Yeah, it's pretty, especially up here in Alaska. We definitely understand the idea of delivery, and it has been some. It's always a problem, but I think as they get these things worked out, it's going to be fun. Now, you mentioned drones. Drones are huge, and I think it's just going to get bigger.
I do. In fact, my nephew was all excited get a drone for Christmas. A lot of kids are getting drones, but it's more than that. It's about surveillance. It's about crops. It's about disaster recovery. It's about military. The drones are getting bigger. They're getting cheaper to make. They come with a lot more features now. They're very smart, and I'm expecting to see that really grow. I realize that we have to get the FAA regulations cleared up, but I think drones are going to be big and solve my delivery problem.
It solved my I want to deliver to my hands by drone tomorrow. It'll be fun stuff as we watch that. Now, by paying, we also saw, of course, things like the Google Wallet, Apple Pay, Samsung's answer to that, and everything else. Are we ready for that yet? Is it working?
I think this is a generational thing. The younger kids are grown up on digital currency and gift cards.
Right.
Our generations have grown up on cash. And so I was just in a Starbucks, watching this woman fumbling, trying to use her pay for the first time, just her Starbucks on her mobile phone. And she was really struggling with it. So I think it's, one, the technology. Number two, the choices. There's a lot of choices out there. And number three is this one could be partially generational. You have to be comfortable with digital currency.
Well, we're running out of time here, so I do want to hit on 2016. What do you think is going to be hot as we move forward into 2016? I know your CES show is this week in Vegas. They got lots of stuff going on. Where are we going?
Well, all they're talking about the CES show is cars. Electric cars, self-driving cars, smart cars, and artificial intelligence and sensors on cars. So I think, you're going to see a lot of exciting things with cars. The other thing is the Internet of Things. Now, the Internet of Things, I think, is going to take some time because it's all about having sensors, connected on our products and, devices, talking to others. But that means you need one platform. You need to have it do something useful for you. So what if my alarm clock turns on my coffee pot, but really I go out for coffee anyway?
Right.
So I think that whole Internet of Things, they keep trying to push it. The CES show is talking a lot about wearable tech and that they're really going to advance it this year. And I think this whole idea of immersive technology, virtual reality, everything, I see headsets, really interesting video cams that have their own green screens, really incredible stuff coming out. And maybe the mobile payment. Maybe we'll get ourselves organized on this mobile payment and make it simple and easy for people who are really bound to cash to be able to use. So those are some of the things that I hear about and see coming up in 2016.
Well, I look forward to talking to you about all this stuff in 2016 and how we can utilize it to advance our careers as well. Dr. Tracey Wilen, thanks so much for coming with us. Have a great week.
Thank you, you too.